Whether you're feeling anxious and you're looking to try new techniques that can help, or you're interested in developing your journaling and understanding how journaling can help your personal development, this video is going to give you all of that. So in this video, I'm going to cover the main mistake that people make when journaling for anxiety, and I'm also going to share a couple of really nice journal prompts and exercises that I find really useful and that I share with my clients. So the first thing, then looking at this idea of the mistake that we can make when journaling for anxiety, is that we regurgitate on the page and we keep swimming around in those anxious thoughts. And so we end up writing very similar things day in, day out. Now, this can provide a short-lived comfort, because if our mind is filled with anxious thoughts and they're spinning and we're feeling really clogged up here in our mind, it can be a relief to grab your pen, open up your journal and to just get it down on the page. It can be a sense of like, oh, you know, that's a weight off. But then slowly throughout the day, those thoughts begin to build up again. So what I like to teach when I'm working with clients, when I'm working with people on their anxiety, is a way that's going to really get to the core of what the issue is, rather than just alleviating the symptoms, i.e. taking that pressure off the mind, but not solving what's causing the pressure in the first place. So the way that I do that is to create a very specific practice when you're journaling. So you're not simply just regurgitating those thoughts on the page, you're being very intentional about the way that you do that. So there's something that's really nice to understand in that you're using the journaling practice to change the way that your brain works. So if we simply just say, okay, today I'm just feeling really tense in my body and I'm finding myself constantly worried about the state of the world. So rather than just writing that down, and in doing that, we are simply using the brain in the same way, I'm going to be inviting you to write in a way that starts to train your mind to think differently. And as soon as we start to think differently, we start to let go of those habits or those patterns of anxiety. So that's the way that I come at it when I'm working with clients around this area. So it's part of my training as a neuro-linguistic programmer to enable people to understand currently how their minds are working and to enable them to start to change the way their minds are working and therefore have different thoughts and different feelings and different experiences. So I hope that's provided an explanation as to there's a very specific way to journal which isn't just regurgitating thoughts, even though when we do get those thoughts down, there can be a short-lived relief. But I want to make sure that that relief is permanent. Okay. So first of all, it's to understand that this journal practice is enabling you to use your mind differently. So you're shaping your thoughts differently. You're thinking in a new way. So it might be that you already have a journal or you're thinking about buying a journal. I just very simply use these moleskin notebooks. They come in various sizes, so you can have a size that is smaller than this one. In fact, I started with a smaller size and then I worked up to this. And I know that it takes me about 15 minutes to write a page. I find that really useful to know because it means that there's never an excuse. There's never a case of like, oh, I'm too busy today, I don't have 15 minutes. And to be honest, that was why I timed it, because I wanted to make sure that I developed a regular journaling practice. So I was like, let me find out how long it takes to write a page so I can really get clear about what I need to set aside to make sure that I do my journaling practice. Some people prefer lines, I do, some people prefer plain. So really it's whatever suits you. But for me, I find just a blank notebook and really understanding how long it takes to write a page and to set that as a minimum, 1 page a day minimum, and you're doing it intentionally. So I'm going to explain some of the ways that you can make sure you're not just regurgitating, but in the journaling practice for your anxiety, you're using the practice to change the way that your brain thinks and the way that your brain is working. So the first thing is to come at the journaling practice with an intention to shift your perspective, okay? So that's the first one to really be aware of. So it might be that you're coming to journal at the end of the day. So rather than just regurgitating the day, especially if we're in that place of anxiety, like, oh, you know, it just felt like the day didn't go the way that I wanted it, you know, feeling really on edge. I feel like I made some bad choices today. So rather than just regurgitating, you're writing about how the day went, but you're looking for a fresh perspective. And so I find it really useful to set some tasks. I'm going to journal on what was best about the day. And what that does is it puts the negativity behind and it brings the highlights to the front. So we're not denying the negativity, but what we're doing first is we're looking at the highlights. So it's like, you know, what was best about my day? Oh, do you know what? I actually had a really great sandwich for lunch. Like, that was the highlight. The rest of the day was a bit of a write-off, but at lunch, I had this really great sandwich. Like, you know, when you just have a perfect combination of the salad and the mayo and all the flavors come together. So you're starting to really look at what went right, and then you can start to write about the rest of the day. But what you'll find is you've shifted your perspective. And so you're signaling to the brain to say, look at what's great. Look at what you can talk about in a way that brings you joy. Look about how you can write about your recent time in the day or in your life in a way that brings pleasure. And that's what we're trying to cultivate with this journaling practice. A way of seeing the world or a way of seeing the day that brings positive feelings into the body, that brings interest and excitement to the way that you view your life. So you're looking for the best in the day. Now, a couple of things to really bear in mind with this. I find it really useful to set the bar low. Sometimes I might suggest to a client that they follow this seeing the best in the day practice for about 30 days. And they're like, you know, but what if my day is really average? Like, what if nothing amazing happens? And I'm like, okay, seeing the best in the day doesn't mean that something amazing has to have happened. Like, the best in your day can be like, oh my God, I had an apple from the fruit bowl and it was so juicy and crunchy, it just reminded me of how amazing nature is. So actually, the smaller your best is, the more you're going to be training your brain to see the joy, to see the positivity, rather than automatically thinking it's got to be amazing for it to be the best. And again, you're shifting your perspective when you look at it like that. So the best in the day could be you put on a fresh pair of socks and they smelt like the fabric softener, and it was just really nice to wear these warm socks throughout the day. And so you're really cultivating a practice of being really grateful for stuff. You're cultivating a practice for seeing beauty in simplicity, which is such a wonderful antidote for anxiety. Now, when we complete this practice, what's going to happen is key areas in the brain are going to get activated, but also your heart is going to open. When you start to look at the best in the day, you're going to start to feel grateful. And so again, you can end at that point. So once you've done that journaling practice of looking back on the day and picking out the best parts and really exploring them with detail, it's really nice to end that journal entry with, I'm so grateful for that, and to really feel that gratitude. Again, when we open our heart and we experience gratitude, it is such a wonderful antidote for anxiety. And you are training your mind into a different way of being, and that's going to then affect the way that your body feels. And so eventually you're going to develop a new habit of thinking and a new habit of feeling. So the second practice is to look back on the day when you're journaling and invite yourself to see what you might have learned. I find these Osho cards really, really useful for this. So I don't read tarot, I'm not a fortune teller, so you don't have to have any understanding of how tarot cards work. But what's so great about these cards is they always have a really simple image and then they have one word at the bottom. And so, in fact, if we just take that one that I picked, so the word at the bottom is sharing, and the image is of this woman who's offering a plate of fruit. So, say you had a really lousy day and you're just feeling really on edge, you're feeling really alone, you're feeling uncertain about the way that your life is going, and you come to journal at the end of the day, or you pick up the journal during the day because you're like, I want to develop this practice, I want to feel and write myself into a better way of thinking. I use the Osho cards, but you don't need to, so I'm going to show you how you can do both. So I'm sitting down with the intention of thinking I'm going to write about something that's happening in my life, but I'm going to write about it specifically to see where the learning is, okay? So I've picked this card and I see that word sharing, and I think, okay, I'm being invited to learn about sharing. I'm being invited to think about sharing and understand the benefit that that could have on my life. So I start to write about my day, but as I'm writing about my day, I start to think about this concept of sharing. So I might be writing, well, you know, today, this morning, I felt really lonely because I didn't speak to anyone. And then I think, okay, well, how might that have been different if I'd had an attitude of sharing? So then I might have been like, oh, well, if I'm being invited to learn about sharing, then maybe my morning could have been different because I might have decided to get in touch with someone and share something with them. I might have been invited to get in touch with them and share a recent book that I read that I really enjoyed. And so we start to look at the day in a different way that's inviting us to learn. I like to think about it as a graduation. So each day is an opportunity to learn something, to then graduate to a new version of a new day. So if we don't learn in that day, we have a very similar day because we need to take the class again. Whereas if we do learn in that day, we get upgraded to a new class and a new lesson. And the more lessons we keep learning, the more we keep upgrading our day. And then we start to have a quality of day that feels really nourishing, that feels really rewarding. And it's rewarding us for the amount that we are learning. So that's that second point where we start to really look at what we could learn. So if you don't have Osho cards, sometimes you can literally choose a number between 1 and 100 and then open a book and then count to that place in a book, and then there's a word. And again, you might just ask yourself, okay, how is this word going to relate to my day? How is it showing me the learning? Now, it can be beautifully random, and that's what I love about it. It can be a really random word like participate or sofa. And you're like, oh, okay, sofa, what does that make me think of? It makes me think of cushions and soft and comfort. And then you're like, okay, well, am I providing myself with comfort? What if I were to start providing myself with more comfort? So you can use that, just pick a random word. There's apps, there's an app which is a random word generator. Or you can simply open up your notebook and you can think to yourself, what was my learning from today? If I want to graduate to a new day, if I want to graduate to a new class, what do I need to learn from today that's going to give me something, that's going to help me pass that test so I can graduate to a different day, a new way of being? So that's that second one, to start to look at what the learning is. The third way of journaling that I find really beneficial for personal growth, for anxiety, is to do what I call future journaling. So you're going to do this at the start of the day. And again, you take that time to write one whole page, and you write a page on how you want the day to go. So you've got a sense of what your life is like. So we can be quite extreme. We can sort of say, oh, well, you know, I want the day, I want Brad Pitt to arrive in a helicopter and to climb through my skylight. So we can be quite fantastical about that. That's not to say, you know, don't do it, don't have fun. But the invitation is to see your day and to have a sense of really what could happen, what is in your control, what you could achieve. Now, this isn't a place to set loads of demands and a to-do list. It's much more a case of like, oh, today I really want today to feel nourishing. I really want to spend some time outside and to connect with nature and to remind myself of how important my life is and to remind myself that I love what I do. Or it might be that you think, okay, today I see myself trying out a new recipe and really enjoying the food that I make. So we keep it very simple, this wish fulfillment. But again, it's a really slow process. You go into the details of all of the day that you want to enjoy, and you take pleasure in it. So you really start to feel that experience that you could give yourself. And then at the end of the day, you read it back. Now, again, this is a really powerful practice because the time it takes for you to really visualize that day, what you're actually doing is a process called mental rehearsal. So you're rehearsing in your mind the day ahead. And so you're sending very clear instructions to your brain. And that means that your brain is going to start to take these instructions and it's going to start to carry them out. So again, it's not something that happens overnight. I would say with all of these, you want to try them over a 30-day period. You can do all three. You can have sections in the diary so that you're making sure you do all three, or you can just choose one. So over the next 30 days, you could do this future journaling. So you journal in the morning of your anticipations and your hopes for the day. You journal as if it's already happened. So even though you're journaling in the morning, you're imagining that you're journaling at night and you're looking back on the day. So it's really important, again, to do that because you're giving yourself the experience of already having done it. And then at the end of the day, you read through it and you start to notice the coincidences. You start to think, oh my God, that did actually happen. And then you start to become a bit more ambitious. You start to really sense that this is a powerful practice that can make lasting change in your life. So there we go, my friends. 3 really nice journaling practices that are great for anxiety. And if you like this idea of using your journal for personal development, then you are going to love the community that I have created on Facebook. The community is called Write No Matter What. It's geared towards writers and creatives, and it's got a very strong focus on personal development because that's my absolute passion. I'm live in the group every week, offering more journaling prompts, offering more life advice, visualizations, lots and lots of lovely techniques, and we would love it if you came and joined us. So you'll find a link below. You can find out more about the community and you'll be able to sign up. It's completely free and it is full of wonderful inspiration and motivation, and it's a really safe and inspiring community. So I hope to see you there. Enjoy these exercises, have fun, and really understand that they are training your brain to be different. They are training you so that you get to be the person that you really dream of being. I'll see you on the next video. Take care.